Hey guys. Hey, we'll start with Joseph's, obviously because he's first, and he's not going to be here, so he's only going to be watching the VOD anyway. Let's just get some span up on here. And today we'll go with a nice orange. Okay, let's do luffs. Excuse my cough. Hey George, Jean-Marc, and Amado. I think there's probably just a bit too much reverb on everything, like it's building up quite a lot, becoming, I don't know, almost like trancey. So maybe just dial back the reverb and just choose like one thing to have a lot of reverb, like the vocal. Another thing that could help is putting your reverb on a send and just EQing out some of the mid-range from the reverb, because that's like building up quite a lot. So really nice vibes. I'm loving the like harmonies and melodies in this, and everything feels really nice. The kick is quite buried though in the track. So I think you could probably maybe just increase your sidechain a bit so the transient of the kick is popping through a bit more. Another thing you can try is, I think I showed this to you on one of our lessons. I'm not sure if I did though. I might not have. Is doing parallel compression on a send. If I haven't showed it to you, I will show you. I'm not going to show it right now. Yeah, but so far sounding really nice, man. Amado says, I've seen you use ML and sometimes SL. So LUFS SL is like short-term length, and ML is momentary. So I think the difference is ML is something like 0.3 seconds. It measures the loudness over like a space of 0.3 seconds. So the loudness will change a lot more when you're watching it. SL is like over 3 seconds, I think. So it looks at the loudness over 3 seconds and then averages it out. So I think it's a bit more accurate because, you know, it's taking an average of the loudness over a span of time, which makes a bit more sense to me. Yeah, just listening to like every element. If I focus on each element separately, I can hear a reverb on almost everything. It's just like really clouding up the mix. So I think you can clean up the mix a ton by just working on your reverbs. I think the RP lead can also use some work, like sound design wise. It feels a bit plain, and it's like lacking a bit of, I don't know, power. So if you, I don't know what synth you're using, but if you're using Diva, try using the things like FM and cutoff FM. And maybe also, yeah, bring down the reverb a bit and try and find like a more interesting delay using maybe Echo Boy. Just flick through like all the different presets until you find a delay that sounds like quite unique, and just doing stuff like that will help that sound stand out a bit more. Because it's just a bit, yeah. The sound itself is a bit boring, I think. But the melody's nice. Yeah, nice track. Honestly, I think if you worked on this mixdown and got those drums popping through and cleaned up the reverbs, made the sound a little bit more interesting on that ARP, and then mastered it nicely, I wouldn't be surprised if you got this onto a label, like maybe Silk or something, because they have like this more a mix between kind of trance and melodic house kind of vibe that they go for, which I think this kind of fits. Cool. Murky. To make your kick pop through the mix, it's good to use Cashmere Kick Essentials. Yeah, I've never used it, so I can't vouch for that, but Rigo knows what he's doing, so probably worth trying. Oh, hey, Autul, sorry I didn't see your message. I think the ARP and the chords are like kind of playing in the same range, and they're getting buried behind each other. And it's also building up a bit in the mid range over here, so you could maybe push the chords a bit to the back with reverb or something, like short reverb, or just EQ them a bit, reduce that mid range. Or maybe try and play the ARP a little bit higher, like an octave higher. Hey Chris, thanks bruv, love you. Settings for your span, and what exactly are you looking for? Well, when I'm looking at span, I'm just mainly looking at the busiest section and checking that the sub is the loudest point. Mid-range is preferably not really peaking over the sub, And then the high end is maybe a tiny bit quieter than the sub. And then just making sure that, you know, there's no big gaps in there, and no big peaks. So again, I think the sound design on this one is lacking a little bit on that ARP. It also feels a little bit plain, and I think what would be nice is maybe a bit more like vibrato on it, because it's not like super plucky, so it has a bit of sustain. So with a bit of vibrato, you could almost give it like an MGMT kind of feel. I don't know if you know that song by MGMT. What's it? The most famous one. You'll know what I'm talking about when you Google them. But anyway, yeah, try and go for a sound maybe like that. That comes to mind. So just put like an LFO on the pitch and make it pretty quick, and then like fade it in. Otherwise, it's a nice tune. Again, I like all the melodies and stuff. Everything feels nice. And it looks pretty balanced on the spectrum. Other than the mid-range peaking a bit too much. Once you clean that up, I think it'll sound a bit better. Would you say the 300 to 400 range should be below the sub-range? Yes. So like these peaks over here, I'll just go in and turn that instrument down a bit so that it's like sitting maybe this high. Cool, nice work. David. nice chords. I like those. Very nice transition. Love the bass line. I think it's the hat that I don't like there. It's like a syncopated hat. It's kind of almost like, I don't know, abruptly changing the groove or jerking the groove around a bit. I don't know, it just doesn't flow very nicely. I'll just take that out. It hits just before the clap. Kick is a bit weak. Kind of just hearing this tiny little click. Okay, so you see like on the spectrum over here, these little peaks, they're pretty harsh. So I would just go into the hats and just make little bell curves and just reduce them. Don't like cut them out completely, but just reduce them. This little guy over here and this one. And then you can also see like your mid-range is starting to kind of build up a bit higher than the sub from the kick. And the kick is also peaking quite high. It's like, yeah, around 65 hertz. Maybe try find a kick that's hitting more like around 50. So a little bit lower. And then that sub should be a bit more powerful. And then you've got that electric piano like a Rhodes. And those are, I always find them really hard to mix because they have like these big resonant peaks. And that's kind of, it's almost like nothing you can do about it because that's just how they sound. I mean, that's like what makes the sound. It's like these big resonant peaks. So maybe just turning down the entire instrument is something you can do. Another thing you can do is just try and compress it a bit, so that you don't have those peaks like, you know, straying up and down, being like all dynamic. So make it more like a paddy sound, so push it back a bit, make it a bit quieter. Maybe put some reverb on it. Obviously, another thing that comes to mind, if you have it, is Pro Q3. You can put that onto that Rhodes piano to just like dynamically tame the peaks, the ones that are building up. So another thing is that I didn't really point out is that these peaks over here are kind of also drowning the sub a bit, because they are often peaking above the sub. So I think once you replace that kick, or maybe just turn this one up if you don't want to replace it, just make sure that it's the loudest thing, that these little peaks are not really going above it. Chords are really nice, the vocals really nice, and the bass line fits really well too. So you've got all the right things for a good track, yeah. I think it's mostly just the drums that need work, especially the hat and the kick, and yeah, and just work on that mid-range and taming those peaks. Actually, maybe it's not even the hat that's doing that funny groove thing. I think it's this little sound here. This little one. It's like this little transient. And there's some percussive thing, and it's kind of transient's too harsh or something, and it's kind of just throwing the groove off. Like maybe if you replaced that with a tom or something, it would work. But it's just that click is weird. Cool. Nice one. Our tool. shaker loop that you have feels like really robotic. Like I would use a different shaker, or you can make one of your own fake shakers. In Serum, I think I've shown you guys how to do that before. Something that just has like a bit more groove, like so not every single hit is the same volume. Yeah, I think the main problem with this is the groove's not very strong, and I think it's because of that shaker that you have, shake or hat or whatever it is, just feeling like really robotic and straight. Even though there is swing, I can hear the swing, it doesn't feel groovy. And because this has no like melody to it, it's just drums really and bass and a bit of like atmospheric stuff. You really need to rely on groove to make the track, danceable and interesting. I think if you just grab like 50 hi-hat loops and put them in a drum rack and then just play them, one by one in the track, you'll eventually find something that like makes the entire groove just pop, and then you'll know. Yeah, that ARP is pretty cool. Has a really nice dark vibe to it. Yeah, so this isn't really like anything I would listen to. Like just the style wise, it's not my kind of, this dark techno vibe is not what I'm into. So I can't really comment on the structure. It seems fine to me, I think. Balance wise, I think at points like the hats are a bit thin and quiet too. So maybe just a bit of a thicker hat. I think you just need to try a few hat loops and you'll find something that fits nicer. But yeah, otherwise, I think, the kick fits. It's nice and aggressive. The sub sounds pretty strong. I think it's mostly just these sections. Like over there, that hat is so weak and so quiet. And thin. And this one has like this swing on it and it feels really robotic. So you need to fix that. But otherwise, I don't really have anything else to say about this. So thanks for sending it in. Hey Jules, about to finish this tune Sunday. I don't think I've ever scheduled in a day to finish a track. Just gotta keep going until it's right. I think this bass line could, like sound design wise, be a bit more interesting if you just added like an envelope to the cutoff filter. You just had like the beginning of the sound punch a little bit, and then have it kind of tail off. So you don't have just this sustained sound. It's almost a bit boring. Just have something that's a bit more like plucky but still sustained, if that makes sense. Or at least just have the envelope so that you're fading out that mid-range from the sub, because I just don't like how it's like got this growly mid-range that just stays there all the time. I think it feels like almost a bit empty. This ARP is really not changing much. And because it's like taking up such a small space in the mid-range over here, the track kind of just feels a bit empty, especially in this breakdown. Everything's like really concentrated into this area. Yeah, if you played with the filter on that ARP a little bit more, or the melody or whatever you want to call it, I think it could be a bit more interesting, like opening it up before the drop hits and then closing it again. Okay, cool. Next up, Kilo. Coming down. Is that a drug reference? Drugs are bad. Okay. some interesting little sounds I'm hearing there. One of them sounds a little bit gross. That one. Oh, it's all moist. Ew. So like you have the perfect opportunity with these vocals to do something completely unique with each tail. And probably each repetition too. Like grab something like, I don't know if you have glitch, but you could, do I have it on this PC? Glitch 2. Oh wow, I still need to install it. Anyway, you could grab things like, I don't know, phaser and tremolo. If it loads. And then just do like interesting stuff with it. So like grab a, I don't know, simple rhythm here. Let's try 16th sign. Take down the depth, and then like on this one you could maybe bring that up over here and bring it back down, and then on this repetition over here you could bring in the phaser. Maybe bring up that phaser, bring it down, and then grab like, I don't know. Probably won't sound good because I'm just doing a quick and dirty thing, but then maybe like down sample the tail of that, and then you have like differences on each one, and then I don't know, maybe you could do like reverse reverbs and stuff too. So yeah, you see what I mean, like just doing different things in each one. And you can just have something really interesting going on, something that people go, oh my god, that's so cool. But yeah, it's cool that you've done this layered vocal that's got a form and shift. I think it's maybe a bit too much. I would turn down the layer like with the form and shift, or maybe just fade it in a little bit and then take it back out. that's pretty cool. I like that melody that you made there, but I think it needs some harmonic bass. So like if you had a drone behind that, I think it would work a lot better. Without any other harmonies there, the melody just is a lot less powerful. So even just like a drone playing the tonic of your key in the background will help a lot. Not a big fan of the hats in this. I think if you just tried a few different loops, you might find something that grooves a bit nicer and has a bit more. Well, let's just have a look at the high end here. Yeah, they're quite weak. Find something that has a bit more of a peak around here. And then my only other real comment on this is that the structure is a bit weird to me. Like, I just don't feel like this entire section does anything for the track. I would probably remove that if this was my track, and I don't know, fade this in and just have this as the intro. And then make another short little breakdown here, and then like probably just repeat this entire section over there and make a little change, and I think that kind of a layout will make a lot more sense rather than doing it. Yeah, I just don't feel like this section does really anything for the track. Is this a remix or are these like sample pack vocals? Because they sound really good. I like them. Okay. Just a warning, only got half an hour left. Here's this. Parallel Voices. The kick feels really like boomy and muddy almost. Yeah, I don't like that kick. I think maybe it's just a bit too loud. And it has this weird transient that's like hitting, I don't know, almost like right before the actual kick transient, this little guy over here. Or it might be hitting perfectly on time, but it just is a bit too clicky. Yeah, nice melodies, progressions, vocals are nice. Enjoyable little tune, I think. I think the kick is ruining it though. Yeah, cool, man. Nice tune. I think it's mostly just the kick that you need to change. Everything else looks pretty balanced. The hats could maybe come up a little bit more, but I would first look at just trying out different kicks. And yeah, like Kilo just said in the chat, just go and sample some kicks from tracks that you like. You'll find something. Hey, George. It's one of those rumbly techno kicks that I really don't like. I think my feedback on this track is going to be almost useless to you because, yeah, it's this is one of those genres where I just switch off as soon as I hear it. Like the click on the kick is so harsh. And then like the low end just feels muddy because it's all like rumbly. But I know that it's supposed to sound like that for this style. I just don't have like any reference tracks in mind to compare this to, so I don't know if yours sounds right or not. I would maybe turn up that little ARP that you have in the background and try and make it a bit more interesting too, sound design wise. thing that you've done with the hi-hats, like pitching them up and then down, is kind of weird because like the energy just suddenly disappears when you pitch it down. So I wouldn't do that. Like that synth is sound design is really basic on it, and it feels a bit dry. But also not only that, but the pattern just isn't very interesting because it's kind of, you know, it's not really syncopated. Like if you make the pattern like an odd bar length and have it repeating so that each time it repeats it feels like a different rhythm almost, then you could get away with playing it for much longer and keeping it interesting. So like, if I just show you an example, like if you have a regular ARP playing 8th notes, like that, for example, and you have it 4 notes long, then each time, you know, you hit a new kick, it's going to start again on the D. And it's just going to be really repetitive. And to fix that, you know, you could either make it three notes long, and then each time it repeats, the start of the ARP is in a different place on the grid, and it's just a bit more interesting. If you wanted to keep it 4 notes long, another thing you could do is, instead of starting it over here, you started one note late, and then repeat it like that, and that way the D, the first note, is starting in a different place each time again. So just do things like that, you know, especially when you've got like this kind of repetitive ARP going over and over again, and that'll just make it a bit more interesting. Okay. Next up, tangible. nice track so far. Musically it's nice, but this mid-range is getting really overpowered there. That lead, I think I would just turn that down a bit. There's quite a lot of build up from this like atmospheric sound that you have in the intro, because that's quite almost quite loud, I think. So maybe turning that down would also help like create a bit more space in the mix. The high end, like rhythm of the high end over there is a bit all over the place and it's taking away from this drop. I don't know, it just feels like it could be more impactful. I'm not sure what's causing the problem. I'll try just removing like that high end, the sound that's like panning left and right, this ping pong delay with a bunch of noise. Try taking that away and see if it improves. If not, maybe it's the hat. The kick and sub also feel like a bit, like they're lacking a bit of groove. Yeah, maybe if you made that sub a bit less sustained, like it kind of tails off a bit, it would have a bit more impact. I don't know. Oh, is the sub there? There's no sub before the drop. donation. Mado donated $5. Thank you, Bound to Divide. Appreciate your mentorship. Thanks for the donation, man. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, I mean, you got a really nice track here. I think you're just, killing the white noise on that synth a bit much, like using it too often, where it's kind of like losing its novelty and it just feels a bit abrasive almost. Yeah, I really like the plucky chords that you have, and all the instruments work really nicely together. I think it's mostly just like that drop that you need to work on, and then maybe just dial back on that noisy synth that you keep using. Just like turn down the noise or use it less often. What else? There was also there's an LFO on the noise, which almost feels like it's taking away from the groove. Sounds like it's playing a dotted eighth note, but it's not. Like the LFO isn't perfectly synced with the beat, so it almost makes the beat lag a bit. So just be careful with that. But otherwise, songwriting wise, it's a really nice track. Okay, so we have time to listen to one more. I'm not going to give super in-depth feedback on this one. How long is it? 7 and almost 8 minutes long. God. Am I the only one who doesn't make super long tracks? I guess it's not that long in this genre. got a donation. Oh, wrong thing. King Magana donated $5. Thanks for the feedback you give. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you, man. Really appreciate the donation. The like percussive synth that you have that's like going dong 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 almost feels like at times it's lagging a bit behind the beat. Like it's not matching the swing of the track. Maybe I'm going crazy. I think this breakdown's a bit too long to have, you know, without any rhythm in it. Because this feels like kind of a track for a dance floor kind of thing. And you don't want people standing around waiting for something to happen for that long. Also, it's pretty empty over here, as you can see. Yeah, otherwise I think the sounds fit nicely together. Quite like the atmosphere, or the, I don't know what to call it. Yeah, I guess the atmosphere of the track feels nice. think what it's lacking is like some sort of element, like a hat loop that has like a very prominent groove to it. Like it's got all these hats that are panned all over the place, which is cool and everything, but there's nothing there that feels like a really strong groove, or feels like it has a really strong groove. So again, I would just go and try out a bunch of different hat loops on it, and until you find something that sits really nicely in the mix and drives the groove, and then build the rest of the track around that. Like apply the groove to all the other elements, and then all these little hats that are panned around are just like ear candy almost, because they don't feel like they're doing much for the groove right now. Right. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sending your tracks in. Thanks for the donations. And have a good Friday and a good weekend. And I'll catch you next week.